Hi everyone, this is Sean Hayes with Hayes Attorney P LLC. We concentrate in three areas of the practice of law, that being family law, wills and estates, estate planning administration, as well as business law. Today we're going to be talking about alimony in North Carolina. So you'll see I've got on the slide here post-separation support, which may not be a term that you're familiar with, versus alimony. So post-separation support is typically the type of alimony award you would receive after filing an initial application or complaint for alimony with the court. It is more of a temporary type of arrangement where the court would award like a temporary alimony award. It's usually for a specific duration, typically 12 months, and sometimes could be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, just depending upon the circumstances. But that is the difference between post-separation support and alimony, which is more of a permanent basis in North Carolina, a longer type of award. So in North Carolina, alimony is a type of spousal support wherein one spouse would pay a monthly obligation to another spouse. In order for that to occur, there has got to be certain elements or legal obligations or requirements that have got to be met in order for the court to be allowed by law to award alimony. In North Carolina, you've got to have one of the spouses to be deemed as the supporting spouse, meaning that during the marriage they paid most of the bills, they were more of the financial breadwinner typically during the marriage, and they are the supporting spouse. And then the other spouse would be more of the dependent spouse, meaning that they depend upon the supporting spouse or depended upon the supporting spouse typically during the marriage. With respect to a hearing, there'll be an income and expense affidavit wherein the income of the marriage and the expenses of the marriage, typically, for both parties, would be submitted before the court and reviewed and then questioned to determine whether or not the supporting spouse has the ability to pay and whether the dependent spouse has a need for payment of support. This is typically done by submission of an affidavit, as well as those affidavits being subject to being questioned and cross-examined by the attorneys. As in child support, or unlike child support, where you would have a worksheet, a mathematical calculation that would at least give you a foundational approach as to how much of a child support award you would receive, in alimony there is no per se mathematical formula. It is more based on the income and expense affidavits, and then subject to the evidence that is presented at the trial. So you could actually try an alimony case, the same alimony case, 5 different times and potentially receive multiple different results. And the duration can also vary. Typically the duration can be around half the length of the marriage. For example, let's say that you were married for 10 years. Generally speaking, you might be looking at an award to be paid for a 5-year period of time, typically on a month-to-month arrangement, meaning that the supporting spouse would have to pay alimony on a monthly basis for a 5-year period, generally speaking, but is not always the case for a 10-year marriage. And if for 12 years, it would be 6 years, for example. You'll hear the term of, my spouse engaged in an affair. In North Carolina, that is generally called, you have to meet the legal standard, like I said. It's not actually quote-unquote an affair, but meet the definition of illicit sexual behavior. If the dependent spouse can show that illicit sexual behavior has occurred prior to the date of the separation of the parties, then the court must award alimony. In North Carolina, the reverse is true. If the dependent spouse engaged in illicit sexual behavior prior to the date of separation, and that can be proven by evidence, then that is a bar to alimony in North Carolina, meaning no alimony award would be awarded in that situation. So again, this video has been about alimony in North Carolina. Alimony is a complex legal issue in North Carolina. It is something that you would want to consult with an attorney about. If you have any questions about this issue as it relates to your specific situation, feel free to send us an email here as listed on the page, or visit our website for more information, www.hayesattorneync.com, or give us a call and reach out for a consultation at 336-633-4529. Thank you.